So, they're officially moving forward with plans to shut down the Department of Education. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into what that means for millions of student loan borrowers and new applicants for financial aid. But before we get into that, there's an important update. The recertification deadline for all income-driven repayment plans has been extended until at least February of 2026. Federal Student Aid is advising borrowers to wait a few weeks for this extension to show up on their accounts. Now on to the major news. President Trump has signed an executive order directing the closure of the Department of Education. Secretary Linda McMahon has been tasked with shutting it down to the maximum extent appropriate and permitted by law, while ensuring the uninterrupted delivery of essential services, programs, and benefits. However, the order doesn't specify which services or programs would be affected, nor does it clarify how federal student aid responsibilities will be managed or reassigned. While the administration is moving forward with these plans, fully dismantling a federal department requires an act of Congress. That means that the decision is likely to face legal challenges, and the process of shutting it down could take time, if it happens at all. One thing is that the executive order does not mean that student loans are being forgiven or going away. Borrowers are still responsible for repayment, and failing to make payments can damage your credit, lead to default, and trigger wage garnishment, tax refund seizures, and even withholding of Social Security benefits for the rest of your life. Now is the time to check your free credit report and ensure your loans are still in good standing. During the signing ceremony, Trump stated that the federal Pell Grant program would be preserved in full and reassigned to other federal agencies. But this guarantee wasn't explicitly included in the executive order. It's important to note that certain federal student aid programs, including Pell Grants, are protected by law. These programs still have to be administered, and federal student loans still need to be serviced. The FAFSA must continue to be updated and managed every year. If the Department of Education is dismantled, these responsibilities would have to be transferred elsewhere, but they wouldn't simply disappear without congressional action. Other programs like public service loan forgiveness and income-driven repayment plans can't be removed without an act of Congress. However, the administration has already begun restricting access to income-driven repayment plans, and a new lawsuit filed by the AFT is already challenging these restrictions. The department has stated that it is working to comply with court rulings and expects to release a revised form allowing borrowers to switch repayment plans as soon as next week. Right now, the Department of Education manages $1.6 trillion in federal student loans for about 43 million borrowers. So what happens if the department is dismantled? One of the biggest concerns is the potential chaos for loan servicers and repayment processing. The Office of Federal Student Aid coordinates closely with servicers to manage payments, process income recertification, and help borrowers avoid default. With the department in upheaval, loan servicers could face leadership gaps and unclear directives, causing delays in routine tasks like updating repayment plans and processing payments. This uncertainty comes at a time when the department has already cut half of its workforce. Without it operating at full capacity, borrowers may face long delays in getting applications processed for income-driven repayment plans, loan forgiveness programs, and other forms of relief. While loan servicers handle the paperwork, the Education Department has the final say on all student loan forgiveness approvals. A breakdown in administration could stall these programs indefinitely. It's also important to remember that the terms and conditions of federal student loans cannot change, even if a different agency takes over. Borrowers' rights were guaranteed when they signed the master promissory note for their loans. However, those pursuing public service loan forgiveness or income-driven repayment forgiveness, the situation is more concerning. These programs require ongoing administration to track payments, verify employment for PSLF, and approve loan discharges. If the PSLF unit is completely dismantled or its staff reassigned, the program could grind to a halt, leaving borrowers in limbo. So what can borrowers do in the meantime? First, it's crucial to keep detailed records of all loan documents, payment history, and any communication with servicers. Download important records from studentaid.gov and take screenshots of any progress. Staying informed is also essential. Watch for emails from your loan servicer and check reliable sources for updates on the Department of Education and student loan policies. Despite the uncertainty, borrowers should continue making payments if they can, as the laws authorizing PSLF and income-driven repayment remain in place. Experts state that forgiveness should be granted eventually as long as a legal framework exists. If issues arise, know that you don't have to go it alone. Seek free student loan guidance counseling from a nonprofit resource like EdCap, try contacting your loan servicer, and learn about filing a complaint on our website if you need to escalate an issue. And finally, be cautious about private loans. While the federal system is in flux, federal loans still offer more protections, fixed interest rates, and access to forgiveness programs. Private loans don't offer the same benefits and should be approached carefully, especially when considering refinancing federal loans into private ones.